morning, everyone. My name is Sean, and today myself, along with my colleagues, will be presenting you 4 strategic options available to Rejuvenating Spa Inc. I will start by presenting an assessment of the current situation, and afterwards Phil will be presenting the option of consolidating RSI and Lavish, as well as franchising. After that, Zara will be presenting the partnership with FFL and the acquisition of Pure Substances. Finally, Ashley and Miriam will be providing you with our recommendations and conclusion. So we have assessed the current vision and mission statement of both Lavish and RSI and developed some critiques. Firstly, a vision statement should define the future goals of the company, while a mission statement should define the main purpose, the target market, and the value proposition and competitive nature. Some flaws and misalignments in the current statements for RSI and Lavish are: Lavish does not reference its environment. Neither RSI or Lavish include relationship with the community. RSI is more focused on the affordability of services, while Lavish is focused on the luxury and pampering of its customers. So now I will discuss the key success factors in the industry and the current competitive strategies. So the success factors being the convenient location, the current and unique services, the use of quality products, competitive pricing, and good reputation. So currently, RSI needs to develop an overall strategy. So far, they have focused on providing quality services. So in terms of internal and external environment, here are some considerations. So some of the strengths for RSI are that they have highly trained staff, and their customer demographic is quite large in being the middle class. One of the weaknesses is that there's a high turnover of staff. Some of the external opportunities are that there's a new market emerging, that being of men, and also spa visits in general are increasing. So some of the threats that are facing RSI is that the industry is highly competitive, and also it is susceptible to economic downturn. So in regards to the Pestel analysis, the political problem is that the minimum wage differs based on the province. Economically, as a luxury business, they're heavily impacted by fluctuations in the economy. Socially, there's mainly just been women customers, but now, as I mentioned, there's a new demographic in the men clientele. For the technology component, smartphones and apps are actually allowing spas to connect with customers more readily. Environmentally, the products that they're using may have effects on the environment, and they want to focus more on corporate social responsibility. So finally, legislatively, there are certain certifications and regulations required for spas, depending on which province they may find themselves in. So I have determined that by consolidating, the ratios basically stay the same for the current ratio and the debt to equity ratio. As you can see though, the profit margin will decrease upon consolidation. And also the interest coverage ratio will actually slightly go up upon consolidation. But one thing to consider is that one of our financing options is the bank loan of $15 million. And basically, these consolidated ratios do not comply with the covenants, and this will need to be considered when we assess each strategic option further. So now I'm going to pass it off to Phil.
Thanks, Sean. So now we're going to be discussing our first strategic option. Our first strategic option is consolidation of RSI and Lavish to make one brand identity as an opportunity to expand. There's obvious advantages and disadvantages to this. The first advantage is it's consistent with Sally's mandate to unite 2 spas under one brand identity and administration. In addition, it allows the strengthening of the company to provide a cohesive strategy rather than one different mission and vision statement. This will also result in cost savings from administration, accounting, information systems, and bank expenses. RSI can leverage Lavish's existing website and social media presence to market the joint operations. A stronger view of the company's consolidated financial statements makes it easier to acquire funding, meeting covenants. Bank financing will also require consolidated financial statements under ASPE. The disadvantage is that there's some resistance met from Lavish's management, and which may result in a loss of customers and employee satisfaction. There's also a large difference in bonus programs, which could result in a loss of former Lavish employees. This may warrant an implementation of a company-wide bonus program to maintain fairness. In addition, there's also the disadvantage of different accounting policies for both accounts receivable and depreciation policies for equipment and intangible assets. There shouldn't be any financing requirements for this alternative, and the financial reporting and tax treatments are pretty much negligible, and there's no further implications. Now we'll discuss the following alternative of franchising of the spa models after RSI's operations and image. There's the advantages to this is that it's in line with the board mandate for growth. It's also an effective method for capturing market share. Franchising will allow RSI to expand to new geographic markets faster compared to financing and expanding itself. In addition, franchising could provide the opportunity for operational improvement. The franchisees could have a highly popular treatment program that RSI could integrate into its own operations. There's obvious disadvantages as well. Franchisees would have different values than RSI, which could lead to a damaged brand image. In addition, the expansion may overwhelm the CEO of RSI, who has no prior experience managing large-scale expansions. In addition, franchising may not be as lucrative as RSI perceives it due to subpar locations, since location is the most important part in determining factor in customers choosing this specific spa. In addition, there will be quite an extensive screening process, which will be quite timely and quite expensive. To address some of the financing that might be required, the upfront costs of the financing are a total of $250,000 for operating manuals and marketing materials, plus $65,000 in costs for the first year of activities. Once again, there's negligible financial reporting and tax treatment. Zara, would you like to come present the other two alternatives?
Thanks, Phil, for that. So the third strategic option is the partnership with Forevermore Fitness Limited, which is FFL. This option allows RSI to establish massage therapy centers in existing fitness centers. So the pros with that is that there is low risk because they'll be sharing their costs with FFL. There is access to existing health-conscious customers, allowing them more exposure to the market, the opportunity to train new therapists and create a training manual, and the existing employees that they have right now can also take on new roles, which will meet their goal of reducing their retention rates. The cons with this is that there is a lack of brand promotion. This will also require significant dependence on FFL's financial stability. And hence, in order to make sure that the information is correct from FFL, there'll be a lot of due diligence required by RSI. If RSI decides to incorporate, there will be also increased costs associated with that. So there are tax implications with this options. If they decide to incorporate, like I said, there's a higher cost, but there's also tax advantages if their income is to increase in the future. For partnership, if they choose that route, then if they do have losses, then they will be split between the two, and they can apply that with other income within each corporation. The fourth strategic option is the acquiring Pure Substance Inc. This allows RSI to fully acquire the current product, Pure Substance Inc., that they're already using. So the pros with that, of course, is vertically integrated supply chain, so lowering their cost. Manufacturing environmentally friendly products will also allow them to improve their brand image. Expanding Pure products into large retail will bring in more revenue. Promoting RSI as a socially and environmentally responsible company will also assist them in their brand promotion. The cons with this is the company has no experience with manufacturing. There is also exposure to increased foreign competition. The costs of producing have risen significantly, and outsourcing the production or the manufacturing process will also lead to some ethical dilemmas with obligations that they have with their current staff. Ultimately, with this option, there are no tax implications. I will now ask Miriam and Ashley to present their part.
Our recommendation is that we consolidate RSI and Lavish operationally and financially, but to maintain the two brand names and spa styles separately. We also recommend implementing a bonus scheme for the employees of RSI and Lavish. As for the franchise, we recommend postponing it at least 1 year. RSI does not currently have the time or resources for management to fully see the franchise through, and we want to make sure it's not harming RSI's brand. The partnership with FFL will also serve as a stepping stone to be able to properly implement the franchise strategy. Once the franchises are up and running, internal controls will have to be constantly monitored to ensure that RSI's strategy and operations are being adhered to properly. And we also recommend that once a number of franchises are up and running, that a CPA is hired as a controller to ensure that to oversee the establishment and ensure adherence of controls. For the FFL partnership, we recommend that it's undertaken. It's highly profitable, which can help fund internal expansion and also minimize some of the debt required for the franchising opportunity. Another benefit is that it gives the opportunity to improve employee retention, as employees can rotate to less stressful roles and compared to their current therapy jobs. We also recommend that RSI highly discusses the use of their logo with MTC at all of their locations, as it won't hurt MTC, but it will improve their brand recognition for RSI. Finally, we don't recommend that RSI acquires Pure. Although it has the potential to be a highly profitable company in the future, right now it has deteriorating financials. The RSI is undergoing the partnership and the franchising opportunity, and it's just too much for management to take on, and it wouldn't benefit RSI fully. Finally, our implementation plan is based off 4 factors. So for consolidation, we recommend that this is undertaken immediately, and it will be undertaken by Sally. The reason we recommend that it's taken immediately is because of the cost savings related to it. Franchising, as I mentioned, we recommend that this is delayed 1 year. In year 2, 4 franchises will be opened, and the following year, year 3, 8 franchises will be opened. Sally will be in charge of this, and Emily will help her as she has experience with RSI's operation, and she can screen potential franchisees. There is a $200,000 upfront cost related to marketing material development, and this will generate a loss in the first year, but the profit generated in year 2 will offset the loss generated in year 1. And finally, the partnership with FFL, we recommend that this is taken on immediately with Lisa Wiley leading it, as she has experience with RSI's leadership and is a current shareholder. There will be an investment of less than $50,000 required in the first year, and there will may be additional costs that are required later on related to administrative and legal charges. And lastly, we recommend that you take it on initially as a partnership, but contemplate incorporating later on as the partnership grows. And I'll hand it on to Miriam.
Thank you, Ashley. So RSI currently has an offer from the bank for a loan of $15 million. As Sean mentioned, RSI does not meet the bank covenants, and the shareholders cannot be paid until the interest coverage ratio becomes 10. Currently, the consolidated value is 3. That being said, shareholders will not be able to withdraw any funds from RSI until 2017, and that's only if the expansion is profitable and successful. The second option of financing is to obtain a loan from Blair Cummings. The interest rate may be high, and some shareholders may be opposed to having a new shareholder on the board. However, Blair would have less restricted covenants, and the shareholders would be able to withdraw dividends every year. If Blair chooses to convert his investment to equity, RSI can leverage his finance background on the board. And as you can see, these are the amounts that will be required to finance the different projects that were recommended. RSI's forecasted net income is expected to increase in 2016 as a result of the decreased operational costs driven by the consolidation, and also net income will increase drastically in 2018 because of all the changes that have been recommended. So moving on to the operational issues, as Sean discussed, the mission and vision statements are required to be updated. We recommend the following vision statement. So to become the reputable leading spa for Canadian spa goers by growing RSI's brand geographically. As for the mission statement, we recommend the following: to provide exceptional client-centered spa and therapy services to enthused clients in an atmosphere that is relaxing and in a manner that is environmentally friendly and sustainable. Moving on to the operations of the consolidated entity, Lavish will become a part of RSI financially. However, operationally, it will operate separately from RSI. As a result of the consolidation, it is recommended to join the administrative functions of both companies in order to reduce costs and ensure consistency throughout both companies. Moving on to the accounting standards, which is the second point. They need to standardize accounting standards across both companies. So both RSI and Lavish are private companies, therefore adopting ASPE would be the best way to go. In addition, banking should also be consolidated by transferring the assets from Lavish to RSI's account, and this will improve future financing terms from banks and also save banking fees. Another recommendation we have is standardizing the bonus scheme across both companies in order to avoid conflict between across all employees and across both companies. The bonus scheme should be broken down to 2 levels, so managers and above and then below managers. Managers and above should be provided equity ownership incentives to retain key talent, and therapists could be provided with extra vacation time. The current bonus structure that Lavish used, which is based on revenue, should also be kept in order to avoid upsetting current Lavish employees. So now I'm going to hand it over to Sean to conclude the presentation.
Thank you very much, Miriam. So in conclusion, we recommend that RSI perform a consolidation and partial consolidation, operational consolidation with Lavish. We also suggest that they pursue the partnership with FFL in massage therapy centers. We suggest that they franchise RSI only pending the successful launch of these therapy centers. And finally, we recommend that they forego the purchase of Pure Substance. So if they provide these recommendations and implement them, this will allow them to achieve growth within 5 years and provide significant returns to shareholders. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Oh my god. OMG.